Okay, so I'm out here in my garage and I'm working on a couple of chainsaws I have here. One of them's mine. Well, I actually own a few myself, but I am by far not a specialist. I'm not a professional logger or but I do work on some chainsaws because I do use some myself out in East Texas, where we'll cut a few down, trim a lot of trees, stuff like that, but definitely not on a professional level. Now the small engines, I do enough where I can do the basic maintenance on them. I can change the fuel lines, filters, the bulb if it has it, fix the pull strings. I mean, all that stuff. Sharpen the chain. I can do the basic maintenance, put it that way, right? But I'm by far not a specialist, so there are a lot of guys out there they're really professional at it, and they know what model does what and who makes what. I know the basic brands. I own a few Husqvarnas myself, and I've gone through a couple of Polands, but there are definitely some guys out there that are really professionals, when it comes to chainsaws. And but like I said, I can do all the basic maintenance, and let me show you what I did on a couple of these saws I have here. So here's a couple of saws I just worked on. With this one, it's a Poland 21. What is it? Poland 2150. And this one was just given to me. The guy just didn't want to work on it. And there's a lot of these out there. I mean, these were, an affordable chainsaw, and it actually does pretty well. But when I got it, all I needed to do was, I changed the bulb, the fuel lines, and the filter. And when I got in there and did it, it looked like, well, they had it reversed. I mean, it was they had the fuel lines hooked up wrong, but even then, it was still all rotted away, and everything just fell apart when I was taking it off. So it was actually an easy fix. This one, this Husqvarna, it looks pretty bad. It looks like it's been through it, right? And this is a Husqvarna 136. And they're comparable. They're both 36cc engines on them. But this one, I actually have a couple of these. This one looks in worse shape, but it really cuts well. I mean, it's actually a pretty decent chainsaw. It looks like it's been through it because it doesn't have a case, and it just sat out in the sun, and it just faded it out. And but other than that, I use this one all the time. It's when I'm doing a lot of tree trimming, this is a workhorse. And of course, the same maintenance on it. I just change the fuel lines, make sure everything's cleaned up. But what I also do, and let me show you, if we can get in there and see. There's some guys that do a lot of muffler mods, and you'll see a bunch of videos out there, and they're actually pretty slick, and it increases the exhaust flow out of the muffler, and really increases the power. Right? You increase the power, and you have to adjust the carburetor accordingly. I believe it's supposed to run rich. If you run it too lean, it's going to burn the engine up after you do it. And some of the guys, they'll come in here and cut extra ports, right? So you'll have 2 ports coming out and increase the flow. But let me show you what I did on both of these. I didn't go as far as adding another port, but I just modified the port that's in there. So I'm taking the muffler off. These are 8mm bolts. Takes a couple of them there, and then you can take the muffler off, and you see this deflector plate or heat plate. It needs to stay in there. Alright, so here's a better view, more of a top down. So there, you take the muffler apart, you pull it out, take the cap of it off. Now this inside part, there's your spark arrestor. This one's not too bad. If you want to clean it off, you can get a torch and burn all the carbon deposits off of it. And when you look at it, see all these little ports. You can go in here and drill these out a little bit, because basically that fits over, if you can see that, when this is closed off, so all your exhaust is shooting through these ports, right? And this one I didn't do it. It looks like there's quite a few of them on there. I'm not going to get too radical on this little chainsaw, but if you want, you can drill these out, make them a little bigger, increase the flow. The biggest thing I do, if you look at the back of the muffler here, now this one already has 2 small ports on it, right? And they're angled in, so it'll shoot out the side. If you can, I don't know if you can see that there. Kind of looking at it upside down, but it'll shoot it through the side here. So what I do, if you look at it, when you first look at these little ports, you can calculate say the size of the port, right? And with mine, instead of cutting anything out to increase the size of it, I just took a screwdriver and bend it up, right? So I'm increasing the size of each of these ports. So instead of adding a port, I'm just increasing the size of the existing ports. And you can calculate it. I mean, if you want to go that far, and just compare the size of the hole afterwards and compare it to the size of the hole before you do any modifications, and see what percentage. Are you increasing it 50%, 75%, 20%? Who knows? I mean, if you take a look at it, I think when I measured it off, I have a 50% increase on the size. So I'm not doubling it by adding another port, but it does help, right? So, and that's about all I really want to do with this chainsaw. It's not a huge one. I'm not expecting a load of power off of it. It's a smaller size, and it's meant for for smaller jobs. It's for trimming trees or cutting small branches, whatever. I'm not going to go trying to cut a huge 18, 20-inch circumference tree with it. This is really for trimming, and I find by just increasing the size of the ports, not really just adding more ports to it, but just increasing the flow on the existing ports, does a really good job. It boosts up the power a little bit, and that's about as far as I want to go, right, with these. I do the same thing with this Husqvarna. The muffler's a little different, but when you take it apart and look at the ports, it's basically the same thing. You can see it coming out of the side here, and I just took a screwdriver and increased the size of that port. So that's about it. Just a quick tip if you want to get in there and beyond the basic maintenance of it. If you take the muffler off, of course, go in there and check for carbon deposits. Clean it all out. Clean off the spark arrestor on it, the little screen. And if you want, with the muffler, you can increase the size of those ports a little bit. It's not a major modification. I'm not trying to add more ports to it. I'm not trying to push this chainsaw beyond what really is designed for for the smaller jobs. But if you just increase the size of those ports, the existing ports, say 50%, 75%, it gives a noticeable increase. It brings new life to an old chainsaw. But that's about it. I'll be working on some more chainsaws coming up. I have a larger one. It's a Husqvarna 359 that, yeah, I'll be doing some, you know, I say major modifications to it. But it is designed, it's a 59cc, almost a 60cc engine, and it's pretty big, but I'll be doing some modifications to it. But that's it, just a quick tip for you.